Our guest today has a name like no other guest we have ever had. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
His first name is Choice. Where did you get that?
It's funny because
Is that a real legal name, Choice?
absolutely, I'm the fourth, my son's the fifth. I wasn't going to break the chain. And what's funny is I actually found out a week ago where it came from. It was a politician that was in the Texas militia. And that's my grandma, great-great-grandma, loved the name, so it stuck.
Choice, C-H-O-I-C-E.
Like you got a choice, wrong one, right one, the only one.
And his last name is Kinchin. So I want to welcome you to another edition of Odyssey House Journals. I'm your host, Randall Carlisle. My co-host, Nicole Slack. Nicole has a somewhat strange spelling of Nicole.
Yeah. My mom, when my mom was having me in the hospital, she thought I'd be a boy and was going through a name book and saw Nicole spelled Nycholle. And I came out a girl. And so she's like, she wanted that. And it means she will win. So my mom named me that. So
Wow.
yeah.
I guess I've got the most normal name of anybody here in this group anyway. So this is one of the most watched and listened to podcasts dealing with addiction and recovery. And Choice made the choice to come on. I'm trying to think of how many ways I can use the word. You must have been mocked out by that a good part of your life. Choice.
No, I actually used to go by initials so it didn't get confusing with my dad. And I met a girl and she said, "What's your real name?" And I told her, and she says, "Wow, I'll never forget that." And I never went back to my initials.
Wow, I believe it. Did you marry her?
No.
Okay. So you, I met you just the other day in our admissions office. What is it that you do here?
I'm an admissions therapist. So basically someone comes in, wanting help, and I go through an assessment and determine what level of care they need and, where they're best going to fit within the program.
And you are qualified to do this because of what?
Well, I went back to school. It took me about 20 years. In 2019, I went back. I had to recover from the semesters that I dropped out. In 2010, I was at the University of Utah. I went back and I graduated with 4 degrees, 1 in psychology, 1 in positive psychology, 1 in criminology, and then I was the first student to graduate with the new Veterans Studies program at the U. Then I applied for my master's at the U, did not get that, and so I applied at USC, got into USC, and completed my degree in 2024 with USC, a master's in social work.
That's quite an accomplishment, a lot of work.
My wife will tell you different. She says I made it look easy.
You're kidding.
I like school, and once I started coming back from where I was from the bottom, it just kind of felt fun to keep going.
So describe for the world who's watching or listening, where you say you came back from the bottom. What was the bottom?
Well, mine was not just the bottom; it was a basement. I found. When I got out of the military, I got married and had my son, and I struggled, and I got a divorce, and I struggled for a long time chasing the combat high, that adrenaline rush. And my best friend had been killed in 2019 in Iraq by a suicide bomber, and so I found gambling, and then that led to drugs, and it just was the closest thing that I found to that combat high. Not to win. I like to lose it all and then try and come back. And did that for about...
I'm going to make it on the next one. The next one's going to pay off big.
It's to be an optimist, and if you're a gambler, is a horrible thing because there is no last dollar. It's always, there's more, more, more.
Right.
And so I got stuck in just same day, everything for about good 5 years. And then I got in some trouble, and I decided, and it was December 24th, 2018, that I just couldn't do it anymore. I just couldn't gamble, and I left Nevada. I actually ended up getting a house the next day that I rented. I pled into Veterans Court, which is modeled after the drug court. And that was an amazing program. It's interesting first of all, when you're begging to get into the court, and your first day you walk into the court and they're doing push-ups. I knew I was in for a whirlwind of a ride. And so I was able to complete Veterans Court in 18 months. I did a plea in advance, so I'm not a felon because I'm military, so obviously I like my guns, and kind of just kept moving forward from there.
We were talking before we started recording, and you showed me some pictures of you when you were in Iraq. And the thing that resonated with me is, and you just said it too, that you're chasing a similar high with gambling or drugs or whatever as to what you had when you were in Iraq. Can you describe that whole situation? Because they sound like two different things.
Well, first of all, I always knew I wanted to do two things when I graduated high school. I wanted to go to war and I wanted to go to college. And I knew one had to come before the other. So I actually joined the military on September 11th, 1 year before the Twin Towers. So I was in Yugoslavia or Kosovo, when that happened. So we were there, and then we came back, trained up, and went to Iraq. And we were young. I wasn't even 21. I don't think we had any idea what to expect. We thought, I don't know if we thought it was going to be fun, but I wrote my letters just in case, I didn't come back, and, we just went in, and it was some of the most interesting times of my life, scariest, and also some of the greatest, the camaraderie, and just that feeling of every day not knowing whether, is this going to be the day? Is this going to be the day where it's me or them? Because, people always ask me questions, did you, get any bad guys or whatever? And my answer has always been, I'm the one going home. My guys are the one going home. I made a promise to their wives because I was a Bravo team leader. I made a promise to their wives to bring every one of them home, and that I did.
But a lot of adrenaline every single day almost.
There's nothing
I mean,
like
you
it.
didn't. You said you really, like on a daily basis, you didn't know whether you were going to live or die.
Well, when we were there, we crossed the border, first ones across the border, and it was just intense the entire time. I was a dismount team leader in the back of a Bradley fighting vehicle, and I know one time my driver, they got shot. The RPG went through the back hatch and into his hatch, the driver's hatch, and he took some shrapnel, and I felt like we were just all invincible. The first day of combat, me and my captain went out there on the bridge, and we saved this lady that got shot in the butt, and we were invincible. And that's what, you see on the movies, all the young kids just going and not caring, and that's how it was. And it felt good because the Iraqi people, they loved us. They were happy to see us. It was the terrorists that come from every other country because they know where the soldiers are. That's who didn't like us.
So how long were you? So you went through this for how long?
I was there during the initial invasion from, we were in Kuwait, November 2002. We sat there doing, absolutely training up and just waiting until March of 2003. And then we went in, and then I left. We left in August of 2003. So we were there, during the thick of it.
I worked in news at the time, and I think I remember that we watched, you had some reporters embedded with you, and we watched as you were headed toward Baghdad, right?
Right, and there's also videos of me on YouTube. That was crazy. It was a reporter. It was about 2 months into the war, and there was a reporter from my hometown in Friendswood, Texas, which is a small town. He just happened to be from that news station, and so I was able to make a call home to my family, and let him know that I was there. I called my wife at the time. She didn't answer, and then I was able to call my dad.
Wow. And did you ever make it? How close did you come to Baghdad? And was Saddam still? Had they found him yet before you left?
No, they found him after I left, and we were right in Baghdad. I remember drinking a bottle of 1982 Chianti red wine out of his personal stash in his bachelor pad.
Really? We saw pictures of the palace. Did you ever make it to where?
Yeah, the palaces were all that everybody says they were. And then we found, the weapons and type of stuff we found was, very interesting as well. He definitely lived a lifestyle, and he definitely was not a nice person.
So then you come home, and what's that like? We hear stories about that people have trouble adjusting, and you must have as well.
Well, it was interesting. I was one of the famous, Dear John recipients, basically. I came home, and they actually wrote a news article about that as well. I came home, me and my wife, we ended up getting divorced, and I came back to Utah, where I met my second wife, got married, tried to do the normal family thing for, a couple of years, and it just wasn't working. I just felt like there was something off. And that's when I started to go get some help at the VA.
And dealing with what, the gambling or the drugs?
No, that hadn't started yet. Actually dealing with my PTSD, just some of my, my mental health issues, because I did have a bomb blow up in front of me in Iraq that gave me a traumatic brain injury. So I was fighting all that. As I was in the reserves, I was in Fort Carson on medical hold for 8 months, and then I came back here and just had to go through the VA and started to get some help, and it was kind of working, but it wasn't coming fast enough.
So you said you moved you were in Nevada during your gambling times?
I'm currently
just trying to figure this out.
I'm currently banned, I think, from the majority of Wendover, even the gas station. It's been about 12 years since I've been banned from there. I didn't really do anything, but I just was public enemy number one. I was a troublemaker. My daughter was actually born 27 miles outside of Wendover.
So you were banned from every place in Wendover?
Yes, sir.
Because you can be, I remember back.
And that's after losing $25,000 in 24 hours.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And I was single at the time, because if I was married, I would have been single after that. So, it was an interesting time. It was just a roller coaster. I remember I had all that money one day, and the next day I couldn't even afford a bus ticket to go back and check in with my PO.
Wow.
What made you find recovery?
It's an interesting story, actually. I was with the girl at a hotel in Nevada. I was waiting on my paycheck and for my disability paycheck, and I never leave Nevada knowing I'm going to get paid. It's always this, I'm king for a day, and then I lose it all, and then I got to figure something out the rest of the month. I was with this girl, and she was a user. She was a heroin user, and I wasn't. But she kept saying, I'm sick, and that's like my pet peeve. It annoys just annoys me to no end. And I just looked at her. I was like, you just did some 5 minutes ago. I was like, and I just looked at myself. I was like, I can't do this anymore. And my friend had sent me a picture of a rental house off KSL, and I had already told the guy, I'll take it sight unseen. And I met him, later that day on Christmas Eve, and I handed him the money that I would have normally gambled, got my rental house. I moved in with my car and one bag in my trunk. 2 weeks later, my friend, she helped me get some furniture, had a fully furnished house. I pled into Veterans Court. I got back into college, and it just started rolling from there, and it just kind of never stopped.
So someone annoyed you into recovery?
Pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, it still to this day, it just makes you, like, that's, whatever works, right?
Right.
Because of the gambling, I mean, everybody had told me, of course, don't gamble, you can do more. And it was like, okay, it fell on deaf ears. And one of the biggest problems with that particular addiction is a lot of people don't believe it's a real addiction. You may be able to go down there and to Wendover or something and have fun, spend $100. Not me. I mean, I won $10,536 off my last dollar, like 50, and that's what triggered it, rewired my brain, and from then on, I knew it was possible. And it just, it was just that rush, like you said. It was coming down, having nothing, and then coming back up. And it was just like, there's nothing like it.
That's why they have ATMs in the casinos.
Right. I have had, I believe one day, I had $584 in ATM fees.
Wow. Because, see, they make money off so they make double the money because you're...
Well, and it's a lifestyle. They
Sure.
promote your ego. because, you know, it's like, here's a hotel, here's this, here's all this free stuff. Well, it's not free. But I got banned from Wendover, and I was actually living on the Wendover, Utah side, and this is also what started part of my recovery is my house got raided, and they said they raided the wrong house. The cops said that they were supposed to raid the right house, but they raided mine. They came in, I was watching a movie with my daughter, and I had to make that split-second decision because the way they came in, they were so sloppy. I could have done some real damage with what I know. And I just looked at my daughter and I'm like, I bet, you know, that split-second decision that we're trained to make, I made it to not, because I was on probation. So I just said, you know, where's your warrant? And they realized they didn't have one. And so they got out of the house, but I was, you know, technically on the run, although I wasn't running anywhere. I hate that term. But I hadn't checked in like 2 years. So, you know, they took me to jail, and I knew that was coming. But then, you know, my daughter, obviously there were some issues there, and so I lost custody of her, which I just got back custody. This is the first, I think she came in August, so I've had her since August. Took me, you know, 6 years of fighting and doing what I, you know, could to be able to, you know, build that concrete wall so that when people throw stones, you know, my house ain't breaking.
How old was she when they did that raid?
It was like 3, or she was like 3, and I mean, it was a whole mess. They hit her in the head with a gun barrel, one of their guys.
What?
Yes, and he admitted it later on down the road, you know, because I told him I'd done raids before, and you know, that was my job in the Army, and I said, I never hit anybody. I didn't intend to. It was all bad, the things they said, and you know, it just, and because I was on the run, I had no rights. My Fourth Amendment rights were gone. So I decided that I could either, you know, hold on to that, which I did for many years, until I finally let it go and said, you know, it is what it is. At least my daughter went with family. She was safe. And, you know, so I decided that, you know, she needs me because her mom's certainly not coming around. Her mom's in her addiction, has been, and, you know, I can hope she comes out of it, but, you know, that's not a choice I can make for her.
Does she remember? At 3, she doesn't remember.
No.
Okay.
And that's good. Because like I said, I mean, with probation, me being on probation, they technically had the right to come in. And then they didn't find anything. I didn't have any drugs, anything. They the only thing they found was 55 players cards in my pocket. But I had taken all the names off the night before, because I had someone that was, you know, I was getting players cards. So they never could find anything. I think that's what made them more mad. But being banned from there was the best thing that ever happened to me.
What was your drug of choice?
Well, first it was meth for a while.
Which would make sense because you could gamble.
Yeah,
for
well,
a long
and
time.
because it's the adrenaline.
Yeah.
And then it became bath salt back when you could buy it in the gas or the smoke shops. Because it originated, bath salt's it's a derivative of the cat plant, which is what in Black Hawk Down, if you remember, the Somalians, that's what they were all on as they were fighting the U.S. soldiers. They were, it's a plant you chew on. So you used to buy it at the smoke shop. They sold it as plant food, and then they started banning it. But yeah, that was my drug of choice, and that's one I don't think people know enough about. And now they just change it up, but that is by far the scariest drug you could possibly imagine. Because what it does is it will take whatever your worst fear is, your deepest, darkest fear that you may not even know, and it'll bring it to the head, and it will make it so real. It's like the Jaws syndrome. You hear the music, but there's no shark. Yeah, but nothing ever comes. So, you know, I did that, and the only time like I slipped up in Veterans Court, I got really, really, really. I smoked a lot, and I pulled off the freeway because I was in my car when it started to hit me. I pulled off the freeway in Roy, and instead of pulling off into a parking lot and just, you know, chilling out, I pulled off in the only parking lot that had no cars in it, right off the freeway, got out, started spotlighting the railroad tracks, called a taxi, came downtown, and then I paid the taxi driver, and I said, here's $40 extra for a tip since you're not a cop. And he's like, well, and I was like, oh, nope. I grabbed my debit card after I paid, took off running. I'm jumping over homeless people, running around, and then, because I'm thinking somebody's chasing me, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to the top. And I climbed a crane downtown by the Holiday Inn Express. I climbed to the top of a crane so I could smoke a cigarette in peace. And I knew at that point that I was in a bit of a pickle, as you say. And
that's one way of putting it.
So I called my PO at 3 a.m.
From the crane?
From the top of the crane.
Jeez.
And I look back, I have videos, because I was filming myself too a little bit, and it's interesting because I'm, filming myself, and then you'll see me turn around and be like, you keep coming, I'm going to go higher, stop climbing, I just want to smoke a cigarette. And then I turn back and start talking to myself, and my PO, he's like, are you suicidal? And I said, no. I said, I climbed up, I didn't climb out, I'm not crazy. And so he said, will you come down? I said, yeah, as soon as I'm done smoking a cigarette. I said, are you coming up? He's like, I'm not even there. And he called the police, and, they came, and I went down, and they took me to the VA, and I was there for a day. And my social worker, because they couldn't find, they didn't know what I was, they thought I was having a mental breakdown. And I finally told them what it was, and they're like, phew. And I had to write a letter in Veterans Court that that's what I did. That was my punishment, because I reached out, and that's what I try to preach, in admissions, because a lot of people are afraid of their POs. And my probation officers have always been, really good. When I got in trouble, it was because I had to. I knew what time it was. I text him, it's been a year, and I text him, hey, what's up? Oh, man, I hit the wrong number. Oops, didn't mean to text him. So my compliance officer, PO, in Veterans Court's actually a dear, dear family friend. Now, he put me and my wife on no contact order in the very beginning when I first started dating my current wife, and then they were at our wedding. So it was nice to see, because my wife is also, in recovery, and I can tell you that was a struggle, because it was all during COVID. The day the earthquake happened, I got sent to Texas to my parents and wasn't allowed to come back for like 5 months. And when I came back, it was about time we both completed probation and everything, and we got married in Vegas once. And then when I graduated the University of Utah, we had all our family and friends, and we kind of got married again.
You got married in Vegas.
Yes.
Do you go around casinos and stuff?
Well, see, her dad is a gambler. He's a very good one. Yes, I can go around it. I don't. It doesn't hold the same allure.
Really?
I think it's because the drugs, it almost disgusts me, because I could gamble on 10 cents, back in the day, and now it's just no, because my little brother lives in Vegas, so we will go out there for concerts and things like that, and it doesn't hold the same. I like buying things now. I have go-karts, I have a boat, I like toys. Yeah, I'm the big kid in my neighborhood. All the parents love us because we're, now.
You got all the toys.
I do.
Which makes a lot more sense than giving to the casinos.
Yes. That's, at least I know where my money goes. Yeah. I didn't say it was the smartest
thing. Look at the
boat.
boat.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever I've had to give a speech, I had to give one at the Veterans Day ceremony. They honor me. I'm like, I have a boat. Sometimes I would just sit out there and stare at it. It's not some $400,000 boat I paid.
Right.
But it works, and I didn't know how to drive it at all. I didn't know what I was doing. I've only had to swim underneath the dock one time to put the drain plug in because I forgot.
Yeah, well.
But no, it's been a ride. My wife got her kids back. I have my daughter back, and what's funny is when I applied so I used to work at Epic for a year. I interned there in August, and when I was done there, I got recruited here at Odyssey, and I applied at Meadowbrook, and I didn't get in. And I'm not used to I take that back. I would say I'm not used to failing, but I did fail 2 classes while I was at the University of Utah. Failed 2 classes and then came back took them again and got straight, the highest grade in the class. I failed my fencing class, like sword fighting, because I was so high I couldn't find the building. And so I just quit and dropped the class. And then I almost...
Thank God. I can't imagine fencing while you're that high.
And then I almost failed my military class in my master's, military social work, which would have been rather embarrassing. But my professor, he was good, but he just wasn't infantry. And in the Army, there's either infantry or there's those that support us. There's some names we have for those. We won't go into that. But so when I didn't get hired at Odyssey, it kind of like blew my mind, because when I got recruited at Odyssey, like I didn't even apply, really had no interest in applying anywhere else, because I had a very close family member to me that was thankfully given the option through stroke of luck, a blessing, whatever you believe in. She was given an opportunity to not go to prison. And the judge actually caught the mistake, and he said, you can go to a treatment. Odyssey House was the first to pick her up. She's out now. She's doing fantastic, has an amazing job, sober living, voc rehab. And I just saw all that because, I understand I'm a therapist, and it's probably bad to say, but I didn't ever think she would get better. I don't like having this power, but my life, when I first started interning, I said, I just had this energy. I can generally tell if this person, very rarely have I been proven wrong. I always, push a little harder, because if they have that appearance of they're not going to make it, I want to give them a chance, know that it's possible. But when I didn't get hired at Meadowbrook, they said, well, you might be a better fit for, admissions. I'm like, okay, because I asked them, I said, why didn't you hire me? And they were like, oh, well, we just found someone that maybe had a little bit more experience. I'm like, okay, fair enough. And I did an interview with admissions, and my supervisor, my boss, she's the greatest. She puts up with me, so I mean, she's got to be somewhat, she's trained.
Puts up with you. She puts up with Nicole.
Oh no, Nicole puts up with me.
Yeah.
Are you his supervisor?
No.
Oh,
I pick the youth, and then he evaluates the youth, so we can butt heads there.
Actually, I do youth. I just got thrown in it, which I'm a firm believer of on-the-job training. But I remember when I did the interview, I did a virtual interview, and I did not have time to make it from my bedroom to the garage to get a cigarette, and I got a call back saying I was hired. And I had absolutely no idea what I was walking into. When I say there's an adrenaline rush, was gambling and all that, this is right up there. And this is, if it goes, combat, gambling, and admissions.
I've never heard it put like that. But
Well,
I was going to say, if you're chasing adrenaline and fast-paced,
it's definitely,
That's
and I had a few bumps, but considering what we do there, I would say I had relatively, I just picked it up quickly. I feel like there were some nights where I sat there staring at the computer because I'm so stubborn. I'm like, I'm not going to call. I'm going to figure out how to get to this next screen. And it was a mistake I'll never make again, because it was so simple. Apparently putting none is not the same as not having an entry. You have to put none. And I sat there. I figured it out, though. And then it's just been right since then. I love my office.
I hope you stay addicted to it.
Yeah, I love my office. If I ask her, if I ever move, it's going to be a pain in the ass to move my office, because I have
Too many
Legos.
toys.
I have so many Legos in my office, because that's one of the things I guess that keeps me sane, is if I have a hard day or something, I take 10, 15 minutes and I just, build my Legos. And my office is something else. You have to
We
come
are
out
out of time, so you have quite a story.
I do.
You should write a book.
I am in the process.
Are you?
There's a couple of them, yes.
Cool. Good luck. And
I
hope
appreciate you
stay
having
with us.
I appreciate you having me on.
It was our choice.
Well,
Yeah.
your future depends on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Nicole.
too.
And thank you for making the choice of watching or listening to another edition of Odyssey House Journals.